If you're a sensitive person, and judging by the vibrations I'm picking up on the metaphysical airwaves, I'd say you probably are, then you'll already have tuned into the fact that over the last few weeks I've acquired a certain inner calm. Hardly surprising really, as I've had my aura cleansed and my chakras balanced on an almost daily basis. But the big existential questions remain, and tonight we'll be tackling at least two of them. Since I started on this journey, lots of my friends, facetious cynics that they are, have been asking me, all right then, what is the meaning of life? So, in a little while, just before the commercial break, we'll be revealing it. First though, we need to consider whether stones are alive. Someone who's likely to know is Stone Circle designer and builder Ivan Macbeth.
Anyone who enters this space, whether they know it or not, will leave changed. They will have been affected by the harmonics that have been set up by such a beautiful space, and it will change their lives. And I've had many people walk into this Stone Circle and say that something's happened to them as they've entered. And all that means to me is that what I've done here and what I've done with my friends and with the design and with the guidance that I've received, it's working. Something is resonating very, very deeply with your soul. If you block the world out, then it won't get to you. But if you enter this space with an open heart, in a gentle sort of way, saying, okay, I'm going to give this a chance, I'm going to sit down, and what's going to happen to me? Okay, then something will happen. If you place stones in certain places on the Earth's surface, in certain patterns, and with a certain state of awareness, you will affect the land in very deep and profound ways. The land has meridians and channels running over its surface and through it, much as the human body has. In fact, it's the other way around. The human body operates on that level very much like this planet.
Personally, I think the nation should commission Ivan to create an enormous stone circle in Hyde Park to mark the millennium. But I expect all the money will go to memorial car parks and commemorative squash courts instead, so that future generations will be able to ponder such eternal mysteries as, why did they play squash? If you accept Ivan's belief that the earth, the stones and our bodies all have their own energy flows and vibrational frequencies, which isn't all that far-fetched actually, then you might also wonder what happens if you create a ritual designed to harness or release those energies and vibrations. To find out, I went to a Neolithic sacred site to meet a group of ritual magicians called the Golden Dawn Occult Society. Naturally, we suggested a dawn rendezvous, but they'd had a bit of a heavy night and couldn't make it till nearly 11:15. This seemed like the perfect way to spend a Saturday morning. A leisurely breakfast, followed by a nice walk in the country and an occult ceremony in a 5,000-year-old burial chamber to honour the god Pan, which is apparently a top way to start the weekend.
Here we are then.
I honour the line of innumerable kin and cast a circle of dragon's glow.
Naturally, we suggested a dawn rendezvous, but they'd had a bit of a heavy night and couldn't make it till nearly 11:15. This seemed like the perfect way to spend a Saturday morning. A leisurely breakfast, followed by a nice walk in the country and an occult ceremony in a 5,000-year-old burial chamber to honour the god Pan, which is apparently a top way to start the weekend.
Here we are then.
I honour the line of innumerable kin and cast a circle of dragon's glow. Magic, for me, has got to do with direct experience. And it's the nature of the religion, if you like, of magic, is that it is to do with direct experience. We are physically there, and by intoning sound and by physical actions, you are grounding the mystical experience that you're having.
It's an art and it's a science of causing change in your consciousness by the use of your will, by using quite simple techniques, but techniques that have been passed down for thousands of years.
Well, when you're in a seeding trance, it feels physically sort of very pleasurable. It's almost like a sort of sexual sensation going through your body. Basically, seeding's actually not very dignified. I mean, you're really sort of shaking. You start the shaking at your legs and it sort of builds up through your body. And you have to just not worry about what you look like. I mean, you just have to really get into it. Your mind is in a much more sort of open state than it normally is. You can see in your mind's eye interesting visions. You can get into a very relaxed, very sort of receptive state to get information about the site and about the deity whom you're invoking.
Do you feel that you're in any way in conflict with people who practice Christianity?
No, I don't. I mean, it's interesting that it's an exotic Middle Eastern religion. You know, I think it's weird.
Can you understand why some Christians feel threatened by the imagery that you use?
No, I mean, like the skull. I mean, for instance, the goat skull, I found in the local woods. So, and many of the objects that were there were from direct experience. We all brought them there. We knew where they'd come from and had a meaning to us.
So what is the significance in assembling them there like that?
Well, it's a focus. It's like you're making a statement, aren't you? We're making a sort of audio statement. We're making a bodily statement. We're making a physical statement. We're concentrating or focusing everything on what we're doing at that moment in time.
You've got to actually do it, you see. And you can talk about it and you can make TV programs about it, but you've got to actually do it. And in doing it, you will discover what it's all about.
My first reaction when I came out of the Barrow and one of the production team asked me how it was, and I think my first feeling was that this is innovation. This is nothing like anything that has ever occurred before. And I was actually very, very tired. We'd been up very early this morning, and I felt whacked when I met you lot, as some of you could probably tell. And I was invigorated by it when I came out, and I'm really flying now.
So are we.
It's not over yet. I mean, that's the standard. That's the standard result. One of the main reasons for doing it is it's brilliant. It's better than going to church, better than having a party. You come out of a ritual and you're sort of buzzing with life and energy, and I mean, if you don't get that, it must have been a really bad ritual. I mean, if you don't get energy from it, you're wasting your time.
Sharon, it was a cracking ritual.
Brilliant.
All right, a toast to Pan.
Yeah.
To Pan.
Toast to Pan.
When the countryside gets just a little too wild to bear, then it's time to mellow out in the city. The plan was to reconnect with my inner self using oils, essences and tinctures. If you could capture the secret of life and bottle it, what colour do you think it would be?
A study published more recently in BMC Medical Research Methodology found this to hold true. Some healthy people picked a happy yellow as associated with their mood, while some people with depression and anxiety picked shades of grey to describe their mood. Colors can even change the way drugs work. Seriously, the color blue makes for better sedatives, while red makes stimulants more effective. Speaking of red, there really seems to be some strong feels surrounding the hot hue. Red seems to be a universal color that means stop, danger, or hot. While you might think this has to do with culture, it might have to do with our biology. One study in the journal Emotion found that when people see red, they react stronger and faster. Red is often seen as the sexy color, and one study published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology found that to hold up across different cultures. But it's not just people. One study published in the journal Psychological Science found that male rhesus macaques avoid or act submissively around someone who wears red. Another study published in the journal Evolution in Human Behavior found that female macaques tend to gaze longer at images of male hindquarters surrounded by frames of red than the same image framed with blue. So maybe the roots of red reactions lie deep within our DNA. Some scientists think this could be because red is so important for communication. A flushed face could signal that someone is angry or maybe ready to hit the sheets. But other colors carry meaning too. Kermit would be happy to know that it's pretty easy, while calming being around green. One study published in the journal Environmental Science and Technology found that the color green might make you enjoy your workout more. The researchers found that men who looked at the color green while working out were less tired and had less mood disturbances. Other studies show that colors with shorter wavelengths like blue and green evoke feelings of calmness. A study published in Applied Psychology, Health and Well-Being found that kids with ADHD experience fewer symptoms after playing in an outdoor green space. Green might also enhance your creativity, according to a study published in the journal Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. These benefits of green might be because a lush green landscape meant a fertile land with plenty of food for our ancestors. Blue can mean a few different things too. One shade might be calming, while a darker hue might signal sadness. But blue light might perk us up. One reason might be because blue acts on our biological clock. On a bright sunny day, the sky is a brilliant blue, telling us to be awake. This is one of the reasons why the blue light from your laptop and phone screens can keep you awake at night.
Dr. Emoto has conducted another interesting experiment. He placed rice into 3 glass beakers and covered it with water. And then every day for a month, he said, "Thank you" to one beaker, "You're an idiot" to the second, and the third one he completely ignored. After 1 month, the rice that had been thanked began to ferment, giving off a strong, pleasant aroma. The rice in the second beaker turned black, and the rice that was ignored began to rot. Dr. Emoto thinks that this experiment provides an important lesson.
Orange, this is about being very centered. Yellow, we're moving on up to the solar plexus. We've now got a mind. On up to green, the heart, the chest, very helpful for physical heart conditions. Blue up to the throat, so communication.
So here's the basic idea of the experiment. My wife and I cooked up a full pot of rice in the same container the same day. We took 3 different mason jars and we divided the rice into each of those jars and sealed the lid on tight. The only thing that we did different was we took labels and wrote different messages and attached them to the different jars. One jar was full of love and positivity, the other jar was labeled with hate and other negative comments, and the third jar was left completely unlabeled. Now what we were supposed to do was talk to the jars every day, expressing love and affinity to the one that was labeled positively, express hate and disdain to the one that was labeled negatively, and completely ignore the one that wasn't labeled at all. What actually happened was we stuck these things away on a shelf and completely forgot about them for about 6 months. When we came back to check 6 months later, this is what we found. Can you see a noticeable difference between the positive and the negative energy here? What's really interesting about this is these are just from labels alone. We didn't talk to these, we didn't spend any time with these, we didn't give them any different kinds of energies. All we did is label the jars and set them away and forget about them.
So can labeling a bottle a different color with a meaning that you have pre-assigned to be associated with that color have an impact on the contents of a container, even if the contents of the container were the same when they put them into the bottle? Some people believe so, yes.
Indigo, deeper blue, and violet, the colour we most often tend to associate both with spirituality and with healing. They're called balance bottles. They're about balancing, rebalancing the whole of our energy system through colour.
There was one, you said pick one as if you had to take it to a desert island, if it's the only one you could have. And I went for the violet on blue.
Mm-hmm. This first bottle may or may not be your soul bottle, but I'm going to treat it as if it is. The base half of your bottle is what we call your soul family colour, or your soul group colour, the colour that your group soul has been travelling with since it first decided to play this human incarnational game many millions of years ago. This is a very spiritual bottle altogether. This is a bottle that's called in the Aura-Soma set, the guardian angel comes to earth. What's happening here is that between lifetimes, there's indigo, deeper blue, and violet, the colour we most often tend to associate both with spirituality and with healing. They're called balance bottles. They're about balancing, rebalancing the whole of our energy system through colour.
There was one, you said pick one as if you had to take it to a desert island, if it's the only one you could have. And I went for the violet on blue.
Mm-hmm. This first bottle may or may not be your soul bottle, but I'm going to treat it as if it is. The base half of your bottle is what we call your soul family colour, or your soul group colour, the colour that your group soul has been travelling with since it first decided to play this human incarnational game many millions of years ago. This is a very spiritual bottle altogether. This is a bottle that's called in the Aura-Soma set, the guardian angel comes to earth. What's happening here is that between lifetimes, this blue soul disappeared back off to the great planning station in the sky to write the script for the next time in. Having a look at the things it didn't get finished last time, the things it doesn't think it did very well, and the new things it wants to learn for the next stage of its soul's development, which is what is the meaning of life. Life is the next stage of your soul's development, what you've come down to do this time.
You're the first person I've ever met who knows the meaning of life.
Came to me in the bath.
I shall never forget this moment.
A Tibetan Buddhist monk once had a dream in which he saw an island. Sometime later, he was approached by an Irish ex-nun who said she'd been led to him by a vision of the Virgin Mary. She also had an island to sell, and of course, it was the one he'd seen in his dream. And so the Holy Island, in the west of Scotland, was bought by the Lama Yeshe.
If people come here, they can really find this inner peace very easily. I'm always there to help. It's my duty to share all my knowledge and my time and commitment to anybody who wants my help.
The Holy Island is a vision for the future. Lama Yeshe intends it to become a spiritual interface for the planet.
You all have a nice holiday.
Catholic or Protestant, Muslim or Hindu, Buddhist, Druid or Golden Dawn occult society. All will be welcome in a place that will be spiritual but non-religious.
Whoever is doing a useful, a meaningful job is worthwhile to respect. So that allows me to have respect to all other religious people, and also it allows me to work with all other forms of activities. So here we have people from Australia, Germany, America, many countries.
For some people will be the place. I'm not sure for everyone, but everyone who's come always say to me they have benefited from being here. So this, I feel, is what they find. We're not trying to persuade anything. They are coming and discovering for themselves.
People here, they come for like 1 week, sometimes 1 month, sometimes a year even, sometimes 2 years. They come here to do volunteer job. So they are expected to do gardening or doing dry stone walling or picking up garbage or planting trees. So there's a lot of work going on in this place. And always willing to help to not only mankind but all life form. Because sometimes mankind are very destructive because we think we are the masters of everything. So we say only mankind. So when we say only mankind, then what happens to all the life forms? We lose respect for birds, we lose respect to all forms of life.
you're speaking about respect for other life forms. I've met a lot of people in the last couple of weeks who talk about the Earth being alive. Do you believe that the Earth, the actual planet, the ground we're on, is alive?
I think we don't see that way, but we see that Earth is like a physical body form for me. If the ecology is not good, physically we will be getting sick, mentally we will be emotionally not right. So we can't actually spiritually progress. Every genuine teaching must have loving, compassion, understanding, and tolerance. If we get everything we need in this life 3 times over, still we are not happy because our greediness is our cause of our suffering. So through meditation, we really have to sort of get rid of the greediness and say, you only have one life. You need basic things, so we should be more willing to share what we have, and we should be more willing to take time off and enjoy our life. If we have only one life and spend whole our life working and kill ourselves, what's good about this? You can't take your wealth with you.
But do we only have one life?
Well, many people don't believe, so even if you have another life, we can't take what we have now, isn't it?
It's true.
The Lama Yeshe struck me as an authentic holy man with excellent taste in hats. But he also got me wondering, if you're tolerant of other people's belief systems, as he is and as many of the people involved in the New Age are, how far does this tolerance extend? At what point do you stop smiling and grinning and nodding and say, hang on, this is rubbish, isn't it? Author and teacher William Bloom is a leading light in the New Age movement.
William, I've spent the last few weeks going out and encountering things that I really didn't know were out there. And I'm still trying to make personal sense of all the things I've seen. What do you think's going on out there?
Well, I tell you, I think to understand what's going on, you have to place it in its position in history. So if 200 years ago you decided to investigate this world or investigate other forms of consciousness or investigate within yourself, you would have only had one person to go to, which is the local priest. And the local priest, depending on what type of guy he was, would have basically opened up the Bible and said, get into this, jump into this. Nowadays, 20th, 21st century, planetary village, everything is open. So people who are interested in exploring consciousness now have this huge smorgasbord, this supermarket of paths. One of the common beliefs is that everything, every human being, every living thing has a core essence that's seeking to come fully present, that's seeking to express itself.
But is that not a very self-centered approach?
It would be.
I use the term self-centered pejoratively.
Absolutely. It can lead to the most terrible narcissism. But in general, there's a sense of interdependence, a sense of networking. It's a planetary community, and we're in it together.
Where I part company with people is when they can then say, yes, and there is this universal energy, there is this life force. And by the way, there are 9 layers of universal light, not 8 or 10. And did you know that St. Peter came from Saturn? And that the essence of this planet can... And then suddenly we're onto very specific belief systems with very detailed rule books. How does that happen?
People like to feel psychologically safe, and one of the ways they get to feel psychologically safe is if their mind thinks it has a handle on everything.
Yes.
And the mind, or the human mind that counts 2 and 2 equals 4, is a different part of the consciousness than the consciousness that is having the experiences of stuff that is more subtle and more intuitive and more instinctive. And that part of the mind, that logical part of the mind can feel quite lost and quite anxious if it thinks it doesn't understand. And all the crazy pagans and all the crazy meditators and all the loonies, what they're basically doing is saying, hey folks, is a signpost to being human again. And one of the main features of being human is to give yourself some respect.
Yeah.
It's dangerous for folk who want to dive in, want to give away their power, want easy answers, want a quick experience, because then they may get an experience, but they're not going to get something that helps them become more mature, more happy, more centered.
Week after week this summer, I've been through therapies, healing, analysis, rituals and ceremony, to the point where sometimes it seemed nothing else existed in my life. I've sat up till 2 o'clock in the morning discussing goddess power, planetary energy, and whether that little crystal on the string was moving of its own accord or whether the woman was giving it a bit of a wiggle. So, has it changed me? Well, I didn't meet God, I haven't joined a cult, and I'm not planning on a group suicide or a mass shootout with the police. But actually, yeah, something did happen.
Maybe I've been a bit rash by throwing myself into this every day for 4 weeks.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, you, the whole situation has been one of mixed throwing yourself in, plus reflective skepticism on the whole thing, which is the bit that's useful. It's the reflective skepticism. I always tell even my own students, listen, keep your scanners on for rubbish, both in yourself and out there in the people who are teaching you. Keep your scanners on. Because
reflective skepticism.
Yes, it's useful. It's useful. I mean, it would be a sad world if people, just because they became mystical pathwalkers, lost their skeptical reflection.
This second spine I'm growing, it starts here and it comes up to about it. Did you know in Atlantis they have no betting shops?
Oh yes, they did. I channeled recently that they have, and I won several times, right, on the great dragon races through the cosmos.
Right. Can I become your follower?
It will cost you.
Fair enough.
Get your credit card. I take credit cards incidentally.
Just because you're desperately seeking something doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist.